Whether you know the game as Contra, Probotector, or even Gryzor, this is the premier run-and-gun game on the NES. If you were to look for a game that screams out, "This is from the 80s," any more than Contra, you'd be hard-pressed to find it. From the cover art with its Rambo meets Commando vs. Aliens vibe, to those same themes carried over into the game, and then throw in that one weird-looking boss that's out of place, the one giant guy who looks like something out of Mad Max. There are tons of themes that are directly from 80s cinema. But one thing I've noticed is the story behind the game. Why you're running around shirtless, guns blazing, shooting up everything that comes in front of you. That's not quite so clear. That is, unless you understand Japanese, because the Japanese Famicom version has an opening scene and a map. It also has slightly better animations due to a special multi-memory controller chip Konami made called the VRC2. As I was writing this script, I downloaded a patched ROM with an English translation. Not quite sure why the guy who translated chose to hack in the Gryzor logo. Perhaps he was European. Here's a little look at the translation of the Japanese text and the story that we didn't get in the North American version of Contra. Okay, well that's a good reason to want to stop them. They're out to destroy the entire world. Well, if they destroy the entire world, wouldn't that include themselves? But you know what? If they destroy the entire world, that would also mean no more beer, no more pizza, no more video games. You know what? That's it. Let's get those bastards. Now, if I remember correctly, the manual to the US version says something kinda different. And to be honest, when it comes to games whose stories I care about, Contra's not one of them. All you need to know is the A button jumps and the B button shoots. From there, you start the game, you drop from the sky and open fire. Most of the levels are side-scrolling, but levels 2 and 4 are base stages that have this mock 3D, third-person perspective that mixes things up a little. The overall presentation is good. Colorful graphics with good detail, even though a lot of the sprites are a bit small. For playing a two-player game, the characters are easy to tell apart, everything looks good, the music and sound effects are also very good. The music to the first level is one of those bits of game music that always stood out to me, and it fits the vibe of this game perfectly. But in a game like this, what you really care about most is the gameplay. That's what keeps people coming back for more. The controls are good, they take a little getting used to, but they're still decent. Having the ability to shoot in multiple different directions is always enjoyable in this type of game, and this is one of the earliest examples I can think of where a game has two-player cooperative action on the NES. This is also one of those games that I think may benefit from using a turbo controller, as most of the time you have to rapidly hit the B button in order to continuously fire. And speaking of those power-ups, most of them are pretty awesome except for that laser rifle. It just behaves way too differently from every other weapon you can use in this game. All the others are great and everybody knows and loves the spread shot. And that swirly flamethrower ain't half bad either. Oh, there is one more thing I think you should probably know about this game, and that is up, down, left, right, B, A, start. Well, Gradius was the first game to use the code. It is most commonly associated with Contra, to the point of sometimes even being referred to as the Contra code. The game gives you 3 lives to start out, and you lose 1 every single time you're hit. You do get extra lives every time you hit 20,000 points, but the average player still won't last very long. Entering that code on the title screen starts you off with 10 times as many lives, making things much more manageable. Since I did bring it up in the beginning of the video, there were a few differences in the localization of this game for different markets. Gryzor was the name of the arcade game in Europe. It was under this title that a lot of the European home computer versions were released. As for the NES and Famicom versions, Contra on the North American NES and Japanese Famicom were both released in February of 1988. Lastly was the version for the PAL NES systems known as the Probotector. Due to censorship laws against video game violence, a lot of the humanoid-looking enemy characters were changed to robots, and even the heroes were changed to a pair of robots, either that or Gundam-style mechs. Even some of the sequels maintain that convention, but I'm not going to talk about the sequels here. To me, Contra is an example of a game where the home port is better regarded and better known than the arcade game that inspired it. Heck, I didn't even know that there was an arcade version until around 2006 or so. Even today, it remains one of the most popular NES games you'll find. The game fetches a premium in the used game market, and it's not all that easy to find a copy. A lot of times when it comes to more recent ports, it's often the arcade version that gets released. Heck, for a brief period of time, the MSX2 computer version was the one Konami chose for the Wii and Wii U Virtual Console. I don't really understand that one, but those ports are no longer on Virtual Console. There were a couple of ports in the NES game released. One was for the PC bundled with the original Castlevania around 2002 or so, and also with Super C bundled as unlockables on Contra 4 for the DS. It kind of makes me scratch my head as to why there aren't more ports of the NES version, but honestly, there are a lot of things out there regarding Konami that make me scratch my head, and I'm sure I'm not the only one when it comes to that. Hope you've enjoyed this review. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care. If you like what you see, feel free to check me out on social media. Otherwise, you can subscribe to this channel. I do new videos every Friday, sometimes on Wednesdays too. Once again, thank you for watching. Take care.